Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay here. Just the other day, I was sitting down at my computer, minding my own business, when as I'm scrolling through Facebook, I see this meme. And the first thought that I had was, how am I going to defend this God that I love so much in light of this? Well, let me show you this meme and see what you think. If there is a God who watches everything, he has watched and been in the room of every child molestation in history without intervening naturally. Now, how are us theists supposed to respond to that? Stay tuned.
This is Vujade. This is the strange feeling that somehow none of this has ever happened before.
Thanks again for joining me, folks. This is Faith Evolved at faithevolved.com, and if you're watching on my YouTube channel, please subscribe below. This video is called The Unreality of Evil. Trigger warning. If you're easily offended or very sensitive to controversial topics or points of view, please click off this video immediately. I do not want to offend anybody. This is an opinion after all. Again, trigger warning. And first of all, before anybody takes what I'm about to say personally, keep in mind that the goal of this video is 1, provide an extreme example to convey a very hard to understand concept. 2, bring hope to people who feel they will forever be tormented by the evil things that have happened to them. 3, bring hope to people who feel they will forever be tormented by the guilt of the evil things they've done to others. And lastly, 4, provide my opinion, keyword opinion, based on my current understanding of reality from an eternal and spiritual perspective. I understand that in this reality, really bad things have happened to some people. I'm not here to downplay that or minimize your pain and suffering. You certainly did experience what happened to you. However, I'm here to make 2 extremely provocative statements. 1, God, or Source, did not see or experience what happened to you. 2, it did not really happen.
Whoa! 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 How dare you!
Now wait just 1 minute. Hear me out, I can explain. And now before I totally risk my entire reputation on the internet, and maybe even real life, I want to explain by what I mean by this. But it's going to take a while, so I just ask that you give me a little bit of patience. Even if you end up disagreeing with me, you'll have just another perspective on this topic. First of all, I assume that if you're watching this video, most likely you believe in God, or at least a possibility of the spiritual realm, and that we've been created by a God who expected us to live forever. Otherwise, what's the point of having a bunch of experiences and then eventually dying and losing all those experiences? It basically makes no sense, and you have no point in living. However, we clearly live in a world and a universe of evil, sin, and death. People have free will. Horrific things are happening all the time, and many times it hits home and rocks us to the core. I know several people who have been affected by heinous things. Things have happened to me that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But I rejoice in the fact that one day I will no longer remember it. It'll be as if it didn't happen. But more than that, I believe as we leave our earthly bodies behind and ascend back to the spiritual realm, a place where only spiritual values exist, anything non-spiritual cannot. This earthly 3D realm is yet a shadow of the spiritual reality. I actually have a graphic that I created to illustrate this point, and even when Jesus fits in, but I'm saving that to the end. I personally subscribe to the Urantia book philosophy, where we slowly ascend from the lowly worlds of time and space to eventually arrive in the presence of the Universal Father himself in paradise, where everything is perfect. So the Urantia book actually uses the word scaffolding on a few occasions, and I think it brilliantly drives home this point. So under paper 32, The Evolution of Local Universes, section 5, The Eternal and Divine Purpose, it states, "The eternal purpose of the eternal God is a high spiritual ideal. The events of time and the struggles of material existence are but the transient scaffolding which bridges over to the other side, to the promised land of spiritual reality and supernal existence. Of course, you mortals find it difficult to grasp the idea of an eternal purpose. you are virtually unable to comprehend the thought of eternity, something never beginning and never ending. Everything familiar to you has an end. And then under paper 115, Supreme Being, under Relativity of Concept Frames, it states conceptual frames of the universe are only relatively true. They are serviceable scaffolding which must eventually give way before the expansions of an enlarging cosmic comprehension. Life here on Earth is our very first experience for our evolving souls. You as an individual personality, whether or not you believe in reincarnation or if our spirit has had past lives or experiences, you, as a mortal personality, start here. And just by dying, it doesn't somehow make us perfect. It'll take a very long time of ascending and character development to develop to the place where you are perfect. In the meantime, in this 3D world, we have tons of regrettable experiences that we don't want to and cannot bring with us to eternity. From the spiritual reality, evil, sin, pain, sadness, anything negative simply does not exist. However, the Father, or Source, is aware that not all of his creation is with him in paradise, so he sent his Son into this reality to guide us the way. So in some ways, a part of God did step out of eternity and does know what we go through. Jesus knew your pain. However, the goal is to eradicate that in eternity. Here's an excerpt from the Urantia book on paper 26. Step by step, life by life, world by world, the ascendant career has been mastered, and the goal of deity has been attained. Survival is complete in perfection, and perfection is replete in the supremacy of divinity. Time is lost in eternity. Space is swallowed up in worshipful identity and harmony with the Universal Father. The broadcasts of Avona flash forth the space reports of glory. The good news that in very truth, the conscientious creatures of animal nature and material origin have, through evolutionary ascension, become in reality and eternally the perfected sons of God. Here's another quote from Jesus himself. Be not downcast by your failure wholly to forget some of your regrettable experiences. The mistakes which you fail to forget in time will be forgotten in eternity. And that's from the Urantia book, paper 156. Another resource that helped forge my worldview is A Course in Miracles. It states right at the beginning of the book, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The book then goes on to try to explain that we, as sons of God, are a part of God, and therefore we are real. But this world that we live in is not real. It is more like a dream that we will one day wake up from. It then uses a lot of hard-to-understand concepts to explain this, and even offers a lesson for each day of the year to guide you towards this understanding. So far, I haven't completed it, but it has been very enlightening so far. But the end result is, when you wake up from a dream, you realize that everything that happened to you was experienced, but wasn't actually real. And as you know, dreams only persist as long as you can remember them. One day you will forget what actually didn't happen to you. If you can stretch your imagination to understand that this world is just a dream, you may grasp what I'm trying to get at here. We interrupt this video to provide you a crude analogy to how video editing software is analogous to the concept I'm trying to convey. So here I am in my kitchen, and I'm recording this video clip on my iPhone. We're in the physical realm, in this 3D world. And I'm actually experiencing this recording as I do it, okay? But eventually, I'm going to take this recording and transfer it to my computer and put it into video editing software, where I can edit it, copy and paste clips, delete clips as I see fit. Nice facial expression, huh? So I've decided that, well, I messed up on this clip. I actually did, and I have to re-record it. So, you know what? I've decided I don't want this clip and I'm going to delete it. It'll no longer be part of this video. This is the spiritual realm, folks. When our souls are transferred to the spiritual realm, we will have the power to leave behind what no longer suits us. We now return to our regularly scheduled programming. All right, we're now ready to show the graphic you've all been waiting for. It will explain the theory of everything in perfect clarity. Here it is. Isn't it a work of art? All right, so I know it's a crude drawing. It's a very, very, very basic explanation of some extremely complex spiritual and philosophical arguments and understandings. But I want to show you how this could potentially explain reality, at least from our perspective. So, as you can see, I have a dot and surrounded by a bunch of concentric circles. Now that dot right there in the middle is God, the source, and His complete and replete perfection and infinitude. And there is no pain, there is no evil, there's no sin, no suffering. It's all perfect harmony and perfection in paradise. And around this dot, we have a bunch of perfected universes. And we all know that God is infinite, but we also don't think that He's also infinitely expanding. His expansion includes new myriads of creatures throughout all of eternity. He wants us to join with Him in eternity so He can have a relationship with us. And so what does He do? He expands out, and these squiggly lines are potential realities expanding out of the infinite and the perfection. And these little lines, the dotted lines, are the fringes of that expansion, which I believe Earth. If you see this little cross section expanded out, Earth is there. And this is just a potential reality that we exist in. It's transient. But God does want us to eventually join Him, but we have to be perfected. And it takes a very long time. We don't know how long it takes, but we have to ascend there. But we can't do it on our own. So we got some help. And God sent from His perfection a son. And that son is Christ Michael in the Urantia book. And some people know Him as Jesus Christ, or the Christ spark, whatever you want to call Him. But this Christ figure comes down and incarnates on planet Earth and shows us the way to the Father. Now let me say this one thing about Jesus. Even though He came from the universal Father, He incarnated on this planet to experience life and death, just like every other mortal. He is well acquainted with pain and suffering, even dying on a cross. So He can relate to us, and we can relate to Him as a human, as the Son of Man. But also being the Son of God, He knew that coming from the universal Father, He didn't have to experience that pain and suffering forever. In fact, there were times where He heard threats from the Jewish leaders that wanted to kill Him. And He was so confident in His Father's protection and His ultimate victory that He said He didn't think that real harm could ever befall Him. And eventually His goal is to get us to arrive into perfection. But since He can only take good, truth, beauty, and goodness, as the Urantia book calls it, into the eternal realms, the spiritual realms, the potential realities, and all the negativity and fear and pain and sin and evil, death, all that stuff, it falls away. It's scaffolding. And we're left with only the good things, only the truth, beauty, and goodness that is a part of God when we eventually arrive there. So again, a very crude analogy. Hopefully that explains it a little bit better. But hopefully it brings peace and comfort to people that don't understand how they're going to live eternally knowing all the bad things that have happened to them. Well, when you're there, it was just scaffolding, it fell away, and as far as they're concerned, and as far as you're concerned, it never happened. Thanks for watching, folks.